Hey everyone, welcome to Forum. We have a guest speaker tonight, and I'm just going to read over the bio. Pouya Jahanshahi is an Iranian-born graphic designer, activist, and curator. Is presently an associate professor of the graphic design at Oklahoma State University. He serves as the director of the MFA program and as an endowed professor within the Global Studies program. He earned his MA from Cal State Fullerton, where his master's thesis, Anatomy of a Visual Message, delved into the visual communications, semiotic, kinetic dimensions. He earned an MFA in graphic design and integrated media from the California Institute of the Arts, where his research explored the global evolution of what he termed as hybrid visual cultures. He's presented his research on national and international venues such as ATypI, which is the Association of Typographique Internationale, which is, I totally butchered that, IGDS, Iranian Graphic Design Society, Encuentro de Tipografia, which is in Portugal, and the CalArts Association, CAA, among others. In tandem with his scholarly pursuits, Jahanshahi actively engages in social impact design and his 20 by 20 posters for peace. The project is currently being exhibited around the globe. He is also the co-founder of Pasaj Collaborative and Local-Not-Local art and design collectives. He engages with a diverse range of clientele with a particular emphasis on cultural and nonprofit entities. In his spare moments, he indulges in the art of Persian calligraphy, silk screening, and the creation of concrete poetry. Let's hear it for...
Thank you. Thank you, that was great. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope you're staying warm up there. It's nice and chilly here, which hopefully that means everybody's gonna stay fresh for the whole hour. And thank you for Daniela and everybody else for inviting me. I appreciate it. Lots of things I could have talked about, but we chose this subject because it relates to many things that are happening in our kind of present time, and also some aspects of some things you guys are studying, and also some aspects of what this whole university is about. So Beyond Glory, Design Activism is the title that I came up with. And just a kind of short bit about that. As designers, you guys know we can make beautiful stuff all day long and get paid very well for it. So that's the glory part. When you do design activism, you may never get paid for it, and may never your name may never be recognized. But I think it's as important, if not more important, as the glory part that as designers we can all get access to. So that's where that title came from. So let's talk about it a little bit more as we go forward. So I came across this quote. I don't know if you guys heard about it. Art is an uncommitted crime. This is by German philosopher Theodor Adorno, that kind of suggests that art should promote the tools with which we can change society. And this was kind of back in, I think it was like 70s. So we're in kind of a different era, and so this is my version. I think design is an uncommitted crime, and maybe design plus activism for sure is an uncommitted crime in the value systems that we reside in now as we speak. So that will be some of the work that I'll talk about. So quickly, kind of going a little bit back in time so you know a little bit where I come from and kind of what inspires me. So I am an Iranian born from Iran. Hopefully you guys know kind of sort of where that is. It's across the world, right in the middle of Middle East. And these are the kind of things I was surrounded with as I was growing. Kind of on the right, you see poetry, you see architecture with a lot of kind of Perso-Arabic writings, a lot of it's religious. I loved comics. I was kind of a big comic trader and got in some troubles for doing that, especially after the revolution, but it was cool, worth it. These are some of my first kind of love of graphics came from stamps. looking at these little things that come in the mail, and they're amazing looking, and they're from around the world, and they got just stories and illustrations and meanings behind them all over the place. So right around 1979, this is what happened in Iran. There was a revolution by the populace, by the people. And at the time, I was about 9 years old. I didn't know quite what was going on. I just knew like a lot of chaos is happening. I was told this is for the betterment for society, and this is it's meant to kind of bring good life to everybody, that kind of thing. I was like, okay, well, however that happens, sounds good to me. But that didn't quite go that well, as you guys probably know a little bit here and there. And one sign that did not go well was, soon enough, there was a war that started by our neighbor Iraq, because they thought Iran is in shambles, a good time to go and take over some land with a lot of oil. So they kind of occupied the kind of southwest region of Iran for a bit, and kind of hoping to take more land. And so there was this kind of gathering of forces that, we're being attacked by a foreign force, and we need to defend our country. And with the religious fervor that was going on as part of the revolution, this became more kind of like a holy war. And I don't think Iraqi government was expecting anything close to that. And whenever you bring those two together, it gets pretty dangerous. And in this case, children were being sent to war fronts. I remember being in school, they were kind of asking for volunteers from our school, from my colleagues, to go and get trained on how to use weapons and then go to war. And these are some of the photographs. And this photograph is one of the kind of photographs that reminds me of the beautiful calligraphy stuff that we were learning about poetry, Persian poetry. In this case, was being put on the foreheads of soldiers and child soldiers, which was just such a contrast and such a contradiction in my mind. Soon after that started, my folks managed to kind of have some way to leave Iran and go to England for a bit, and as a result take me with them so I won't have to be drafted in the military. And the war went about 10 years. It was a very deadly war in Iran and Iraq. I think it was the deadliest war in 20th century. In England, this is what I came across. This was what's happening in the punk movement in the 80s in England, and that was almost as different as the kind of military outfits I was seeing in Iran. And it was an intriguing how, these are humans just like me and my friends, and they just look a lot different, and they do a lot of different things, and especially their outfits, and why that is, why that kind of a look has a place over there, and why in Iran military outfits have a look there, and what does that mean? After that, my folks went back to Iran, but the war was still going on, so I was not going to go back. I had one uncle I had never met in California, so I came to California, and this is what I was seeing in California. So again, it's like, wow, like this is a little bit different again. So obviously my kind of visual genes were being kind of very much excited, like, wow, like these looks and colors and shapes and different writings in different places in the world, what does that mean? And where do I fit in all that? How can I participate in that language? And then this guy came around in 1980s. The Mac came, and I was studying at Cal State Fullerton back then, and this revolutionized kind of everything that we were doing. Eventually, I went to California Institute of the Arts to get my MFA, and there I was exploring kind of things that I would want to do some research in. And in Iran, this was what was happening. I had not gone to Iran for a long time because of all that, but I did visit Iran about 15 years later after I left, which meant about 5 years after the war. And I was just shocked with all the beautiful stuff that everybody was working on. There's almost no trace of the war, and I felt this kind of reminisce that, oh my God, like I know these shapes and forms and these colors, and I can read some of these, but I can't make things that look like that because I'm doing Western stuff. I'm using Latin typography. So I decided to do my research and thesis on this idea of mixing different languages, different vernaculars, and can that even happen? Can a designer bring some artifacts and forms and ornaments from different parts of the world and inject it into their work in another part of the world? And so I refer, I think, oh, there you go, Esther, I have to stay right here. As Matt referred to it as hybrid visual culture. So this is some examples of some of the work I did in my thesis, kind of some of the posters, which is basically mixing Latin and kind of Persian images, artifacts, typography, and specifically at the time I was focusing on this area in Los Angeles that's known as Tehrangeles, is where Iranian diaspora resides in California. And when you walk in the streets, you hear people speaking English and Persian, and so that was my research on that. So soon enough, in this case, the world changed, September 11, 2001. I was asking myself at that time, so now as a designer, what can I do in that space of thought, in that space of life with, like, is there going to be World War? How did this even happen? How can I participate in this? How can I do my share? First thing I did with one of my colleagues who was also a CalArts graduate, there was this anonymity against anybody who was kind of Middle Eastern or Middle Eastern culture or kind of maybe is kind of Islamic religion because of the war, that attack that happened. So we wanted to kind of identify that, first of all, not all Arabic typography, not all Middle Eastern, not all Islamic is about war. Actually, if anything, we're far, far, far from that. And to tell at least our localities in California that we are here, we're with you. We are from Iran, we are from Syria, we are from Saudi Arabia, and we're here and we're doing design, and you know us as your neighbors. So we wanted to see who are the designers in California that use Perso-Arabic alphabet and show its beauty to our community. So we put a call out for people to participate in this, and our focus was to show a new typographic form, not traditional old stuff that everybody's already seen. And we were interested in that ourselves as designers anyway, to kind of what is new Arabic typography, what is new Persian typography. And this is the description we came up with, like the locally based Middle Eastern designers and artists revealed through their design practice that Arabic and Iranian typography has a place in California through community-based projects, collaborations, client work from abroad, but done locally. And that's the name, Local-Not-Local. So these are some of the work. I think our website is still up. If you guys are interested, please do look at it. We received a huge audience on the opening night. We were completely unexpected. We kind of had like traffic jam happening in LA. So we had some great write-ups. The word got around about this exhibition. Funny enough, those of you guys who know about Islamic religion, there's this Shiite and Sunni kind of conflicts going on, and there are like two aspects of Islamic religion, kind of like Catholics and the others that sometimes they're in war. And we didn't really think about this, but May Sarafi is from Syria, so she was from Shiite. I was from Iran, so she's from Sunni side of Islamic religion. I'm from Iran, so technically I'm from Shiite, I guess. And everybody's kind of pointing at that. Look, like these two people are coming, bringing these two religions together. We're like, well, we're not talking about religion. We're talking about the beauty of the form and the beauty of the cultures. But I guess if you want to think about it, fine, like, you know, religious kind of unity. So that aspect got a lot of publicity for some reason. We showed this work many different places in California and also a couple places in California, and I think our last exhibition was in Detroit, Michigan, in the kind of Arab American Museum of Art. It's always fun to have your ex-faculty come there, so this is all our faculty from CalArts to come and kind of support us during our opening, so it was just nice to kind of be together, and there's me with more hair and less white hair in the middle, and on the left, the second left is May Sarafi, my kind of collaborator on this project. So the war was still going on around the world as a result of 9/11, and this kind of looking for enemies around the world from the US perspective, like, you know, who else could be a terrorist? Who else could possibly be thinking about being a terrorist? Let's find and destroy them. And I find myself thinking about this again, that, wow, I left that space of mind, that space of life decades ago for a whole new place, and here I am in the middle of this kind of narrative again. So I asked myself again, you know, what can I do with my skills, with my knowledge, my position at that time? So we have one of my colleagues in Iran. We discussed to have a presentation of posters from Iran that are about peace, and posters from US are about peace. So to ask designers from Iran to make such posters, and to ask American designers. And at first we kind of thought this will probably be more like something on the web, because it's going to be just a few of them. But many responded positively. They all wanted to participate in this. And some of the best designers in the US and some of the best designers in Iran to make posters for us for free. And these people get awards and they get paid thousands of dollars for doing any designs. So we were quite surprised and happy with that. The challenge was to get the governments to allow us to show these posters. So in Iran, they were saying, oh my God, we cannot advertise, we're going to show American posters. And in the US, they were saying, this is I'm a professor at Oklahoma State, and that's a state government, and the money from the state government cannot be used to go anything in Iran. You know, it cannot be used somewhere that may end up in Iran. So that was funny. That was the last thing we thought we'll have a problem. And the solution was almost stupidly easy. We just said, well, okay, how about if we say this is posters for peace from few countries, including Iran and US? Would that work? And everybody was happy in both sides of the world. So we added few posters from a colleague of mine from Mexico, a colleague of mine from China. And then we said, okay, this is posters for peace with 20 posters from Iran, 20 posters from America, and one from China and one from Mexico. It's international. Is everybody happy now? Yes, thank you very much. So we went forward. So we called it 20 by 20 posters because it's like 20 posters from Iran, 20 posters from US, and how they get together. It's much more about just 40 posters. These are kind of some of the, and the funny part was, because it ended up being from other countries, we were invited to be shown in other countries. So next thing you know, we get invitations from China, from Mexico, to also take these posters and show them in those other countries. And that was definitely not something I expected. So these are some posters for publicity that was made when this exhibition went to other countries. This is the kind of the USA inauguration in Oklahoma in 2017. At the same time that was happening in the US, same time that same exhibition was happening in Iran concurrently on the United Nations Day for Peace, which is September 21st every year. So that was amazing. Much more of a warmer reception, I have to say, in Iran and the exhibition space. That when I went there, I inspected it. It was a old jail facility that was referred to as the Palace Jail. It's this giant, almost like palace-sized jail facility. And the posters were being shown in old jail cells. So it was a kind of wonderful kind of transition of meaning and kind of gathering everybody to kind of celebrate that. The following year, when we went to Mexico, we asked Mexican designers to participate in this. So we added 20 posters from Mexican designers. And this was exhibited in a old monastery in a city of Querétaro, I think. Querétaro, I think. Yes, I always mix that name up. But it was an amazing old monastery. And they said, we don't have much space, but you can use our walls. So happily, we took over their walls. And here is me showing some of the posters to some students and also other members of the public. Some of the designers on the right also came there. Following year, it was China's revolution anniversary, and they invited us to show their posters in China in a city called Wenzhou in one of the galleries there. And one of these mornings, I got to go take some photographs of the exhibition, and I saw this Tai Chi practice happening in that same space. I mean, these are people who would always use that space every Sunday, and they didn't care what's on the walls. They would just go and do the Tai Chi thing. But it was just a funny coincidence that Tai Chi is about peaceful movements of the body, of the soul, and here they're doing it with posters of peace. So that was a great serendipity there. The following year, I think it was COVID, we didn't do anything. We had just an online presentation, online exhibition. And then after that, we went to Denmark. So in Denmark, there was this giant warehouse that was kind of empty, and they did not know kind of what to do with it. And when we went there, the discussion was, where can we show all these posters? Because now we have 20 plus 20 plus 20, about 60 posters, plus Denmark would be 80 posters. So where could that go? And Actually, I'm sorry, mathematics there. I'll be like 100 posters. They decided to renovate that facility to become an exhibition facility, and we were the first ones to show our posters there. And it was a giant facility. I think before it was some kind of cotton making factory. And it was amazing to see the posters at large. Here, for the first time, we included student posters amongst the professional posters from around the world. And it was so fulfilling for me personally to kind of see students themselves, kind of seeing themselves. I'm a student, my poster is next to this guy who's won awards around the world and he's famous, and I am right next to that person. Very exciting for me to see that. So empowering the students to see that they can have their voice heard as much as people who've won awards, who are professionals across the board. And that's something we decided to continue from that time onwards. Last year we were supposed to show the posters in Peru. Unfortunately, there was a kind of a political upheaval there, and it was just not safe for us to go there. We are working on potentially showing these posters in India now, so that's where that project is going. If you guys can scan that QR code from your phones back there, you can go to our site. It's called 20x20 Posters for Peace, so it shouldn't be that hard to kind of type that in there. Now I'm going to ask you guys to think, what can you do? What is important to you? And knowing graphic designers, the skills and knowledge you have to use technology, to use imagery, to use typography for the causes that you believe in, and could be local, could be international. What would that be? And what can you do about that? So I'm going to plant that seed in your mind to kind of let it brew for now. So a little more recently, in 2022, a young lady in Iran was killed because of being beaten up and arrested by the police in Iran, by the moral police in Iran. And there was a upheaval around the world about that event, that sad event. And it kind of became a movement that's still ongoing. It's referred to as Zan Zendegi Azadi, which means Women, Life, Freedom movement. And women are in the forefront of that, as you can see in that kind of protest happening. So while many men have been arrested for many reasons in Iran, for being against the government and kind of having kind of thoughts that are dangerous to the government, but women have always been supportive of men and to go to kind of to front lines. In this case, the women are in the front lines. So it's quite empowering, quite amazing. And I wanted to participate in that. And it was the first time in my life that I was actually afraid of making work. And it was very much kind of disempowering on, wow, I'm afraid to make work about something I believe in because I'm afraid what may happen to me and my family, who are some of them are in Iran, and some of them may want to travel to Iran. And myself, I like to travel into Iran. I did eventually make a kind of a poster and made some kind of discussions to tell everybody about this event. This is the poster I made. Now, what I liked, which was for me was one of the kind of happiest kind of academic moments, if you want to think about it. One of my own students made this work, and her work obviously is based on the Rosita Riveter kind of famous icon we have in the US. So she made this work, and up there it says Zan Zendegi Azadi, kind of woman, life, freedom. And her work became so popular, this is something that was kind of documented around the world. Her work was downloaded thousands of times in many protests, and I think it's kind of part of the permanent collection of the Library of Congress in the US, and it's also part of the collections, I think, Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and many others. So she was brave, I wasn't, when the event happened. I mean, this poster, it was way after the event, but I was kind of proud of her to kind of step in and kind of do what had to be done. And I know at least I did my job right as a teacher, maybe not as an activist in that moment. So that was kind of one of the great moments there. So let's see. So kind of asking you guys again, what can you do? Kind of little pointers, if that seed is not growing yet in your mind, on what is happening around us and why design is in high demand to answer these causes. We all know the Black Lives Matter movement and all that happened there. That need is still there, ongoing. Racism is still alive and well, in all colors and shapes and forms, not just for African Americans, for Asians, for Middle Easterners, for anybody that just does not look like they fit in what others may think as a kind of proper look or proper religion or proper sound or proper anything. And this idea that we're all united and we're all in this country as kind of United States residents, citizens, seems like fading, and that is in desperate need. Wars, you know where that's happening, right? Open your Instagram, open your newspaper, open your TV, and that's all that's being talked about. As recent as a few seconds ago, and as recent as kind of, you know, starting wars that have been going on for many, many years. Hunger in the richest country in the world, we still have that everywhere. And not that your posters or your activities or your graphic design can solve these ongoing solutions, but you can bring more attention to it. You can bring more emphasis from people who can do, AKA government, AKA leaders, funders, sponsors that can address these. And it could be a very minor chip that you can a dent that you can make in that kind of a cause. Or maybe you can make tremendous things and have your cause move around the US. I did not think my Posters for Peace would be anything more than a one-time show. And right now it's being kind of shown in all over the world. Your passion needs to be there. If your passion exists, and you guys all have the skills, that we don't need to worry about. So just connecting those two, I think the answer is there, and that can't be too far away. So continue that kind of hunger. Hunger is actually global, not just kind of across the street. So yes, what can you do? Some recent work, this was a poster, there's many poster biennials around the world, but this was a poster biennial happening in Iraq, a country that was in war with the country I'm from, and I left Iran because of the war with Iraq. So I felt kind of called to participate in that poster kind of biennial competition. And the theme was something like finding ways against kind of fanaticism, or finding ways against extremism. What is the solution to extremism? And for me, it was clear, it's education. If people know what is happening on the other side, they're also humans. They have beautiful things and they have ugly things like we do. They hate things and they love things. They want to live, they want to breathe, they want to kind of have children, they want to enjoy life like us, just maybe a little bit in a different angle. And so I think by being educated about what the world is about, that can make a difference. So in the background there, you have kind of writings of the word God from all kinds of beliefs in the background there. And obviously the explosion that's happening from the grenade is explosion of flower and joy and love. Kind of stepping a little bit more in kind of theoretical academic territory, there was a opportunity for me to kind of make some posters about kind of my own work, that not necessarily something kind of political, not necessarily something that is for a client. You guys probably heard that term, kind of like self-initiated work or kind of designer as author. So I wanted to talk about this idea of being in the US, but being from different cultures, having different identities. I mean, I'm from Iran, and I lived in California for about 15 years. Now I'm in Oklahoma for 10 years. So where am I? Do I belong to Oklahoma? Do I belong from California? Or am I Iranian? So as a part of that, I made some posters, but I also did something interesting that I had not done before. I'm kind of entering this kind of uncharted territory. I'm going to show this here with the data. So I used, this is data being streamed from kind of weather API, and the weather that's live was coming in and affecting the words that's Tulsa and Los Angeles. And if the moisture goes up, the squares back there change. If the wind changes, those kind of diagonals move around, and kind of allowing this thing that when I was calling my friends and my family members, how's the weather in Iran? Oh, how's the weather in California? Yes. Oh, you guys are not seeing anything. Oh. You haven't seen, I think I can do this. Oh, there you go. So I have to go back here now with the mouse. So rewind my, so one more time. So, all right, so there you go. So that's, I'm moving, yes. So that's live streaming data from ATypI, which is kind of a source of kind of publicly available data that can be accessed through kind of code. So that information is coming and changing the type based on settings. This is using the language of processing. For those of you guys who are afraid of coding, processing is a very, very visually friendly way of coding. It's not scary at all. Do give it a shot. So that was one of my things. And that was, it's not perhaps you could say about any kind of cause, but it's about exploring the identity of a migrant myself. And in this case, exploring some kind of uncharted territory as an artist. Okay, so let's go back to my normal thing here. If you, where's my mouse pad? Come back here. There you go. Okay. Is that connect? All right. So how am I doing on time? About half hour. Okay, great. I should slow down. So some organizations that you may want to be aware of that are also in this field. So Center for the Study of Political Graphics. This is in Los Angeles. One of my instructors, who actually failed me for one of my classes, art history class, not design class, Carol Wells. I got a D, I didn't quite fail, but I didn't want a D on my report. So if I take the class again with a better grade, they'll replace it. So I took the class again. But this is back in Cal State Fullerton. She was an art historian, but she is leading this project in LA. They collect posters from all over the globe, and they're constantly kind of promoting causes through the perspective of posters and graphics. And they need volunteers, they need funding, and at the very least, they need other people to know about them. So while they are there, you can appreciate them. They're in a building that was donated to them by a rich benefactor that appreciated them. Unfortunately, that guy, God bless him, passed away. And his kids are thinking like, oh, wait a minute, what can I do with that building? I can make more money if I sell that building. And I don't want to kind of respect my father's wishes. I'd rather make more money. So that's where that is. And I'm hoping they will continue to get support. So please pass on the word in that path. Here's me meeting Carol after many, many, many years, looking at the poster archives. I think this was about 2 years ago when I was visiting there. Another group, which you guys probably know, AIGA, but AIGA has a Get Out the Vote campaign that is, I think it's kind of constantly open for everybody to make vote posters and kind of upload them. And there are posters over there that you can download and print them and put them around. And here's, I just selected a handful of kind of what's over there, kind of some beautiful, simple concepts about voting and the importance of it in our society. And this is for kind of promoting the importance of vote for women's rights. And having the I Am part in America, which I love that one. You can volunteer for many organizations out there. I think who can think of an organization that cannot use a good graphic designer? If they already have one, great. If they don't, they can certainly use one. So many nonprofit organizations, they don't have access to funds or not as much as funds as they think a design may need, so they just don't do it right. But if you have extra time and if you want to volunteer or maybe give them maybe just some guidance, maybe not even become the graphic designers, doors are open to you. Just give it a try. Just pick up the list of nonprofit organizations or organizations that are in the causes that you appreciate and call them and let them know you're a trained graphic designer and you want to volunteer. Like you will not be rejected. These are some things that I've seen around, and you guys have probably seen these too, like using just different kind of production paths to promote, again, the causes you want with your skills. DIY fashion, you know, you can have silk screening, you can do spray painting, you can, and make shirts and that say the things you want to say to other people. I believe in this, and you walk around, and the people say, hey, I want that shirt, like, can you make one for me too? So that will happen sooner or later. And this is, I think, if you're a true artist and you're a true designer, you want to be making things, like that itch is there. If that itch is not there, I'm sorry, faculty, you may want to question yourself. Are you doing this for, what is it that's wanting to do that? Because as a designer, and especially a graphic designer, you want to be making and communicating with form that has meaning. That's what we do, you know, that's graphic design, you know. These are some of the ways that you can kind of have that flame be alive and allowed to be yours. This is your message. You're the person who chooses what this would look like, what the subject would be, how much of it you will make, how you'll disseminate it. So it's a practice of all the skills and all the knowledge you've gathered. So self-publishing and zines, this is another method that is out there. I'm sure you guys know what zines are. Any which way that you can put together some set of visual information with maybe some type, maybe not, that relates to a subject, put some staples on it, or glue it, or fold it, that's a zine. It can be made as kind of rebelliously, as creatively, as beautifully as you want it to be. That's one way that you can also kind of communicate yours, because how zines have become part of the mainstream nowadays, you can actually sell your zines online, offline. You can place them in bookstores, libraries, to have other people get access to it. Local participations, you know, these are kind of some examples. That is typography there. That can be much better typography there. Could be something small, could be something big, could be a local fundraising. But again, like, as graphic designers, your skills are in high demand. Find causes and participate. It's as simple as that. And needless to say, you guys know this better than anybody, your generation, social media activism. What you can do on social media, whether it's smart way of showing imagery, making motion graphics, making motion montages, participating in networks that are new or old, attracting attention to something that's important, making things go viral. You can affect, with one button, you can have your voice being heard around the world. That's amazing. I mean, every time I say that, I'm like, wow, that was not around that much long ago. We could not do that. With the press of a button, have people in the world, everywhere around the world, to see your work, your message, your type, your image. That's a powerful kind of tool at your access. And I almost want to say, by you studying graphic design in this time, and I would say place, meaning United States, it's your responsibility to participate in this realm of social impact. So how do you start? Probably that might be a question somewhere in there. And there's no one way you would start, but here's a kind of quick little kind of to-do list if you want something like that. There are many sites online, many documentation, many ways to go about this, but this is one that I found very practical, and I've used this with some of my students. It's a advocacy toolkit. Toolkit meaning just kind of series of instructions, series of things that you can do. And the basics are: explore what's out there, what are your causes, what are causes out there, what are the causes you like, who's doing what about it. Think about what you can do, what are your objectives, what do you want to accomplish. Act, and then kind of you make something by acting, you kind of do something with yourself, with a bunch of your friends. I mean, who can think of a more fun thing to get together with a bunch of graphic design friends and making things about something that you're passionate about and spreading it around and having other people see it. I mean, that's kind of one of the most fun things I can imagine anyway. And then evaluate kind of what happened. Did people like this stuff? Did they not like this stuff? Should we make more of this? Should we try something different now? And then kind of rinse and repeat and kind of do that. So explore, think, act, evaluate. That could be it's as easy and as exciting as that. If you want that information, you can scan that QR code, and I'll be happy to give some of these links and stuff to your instructors to kind of pass them on to you. But I'm sure by the time I say this, you guys probably typed this on Google and you're already downloading it and kind of finding like 8 different better versions than what I found. So, but the information is out there. If you really want to do it, the information is out there. Nothing holding you back. So maybe some of you guys can answer in the Q&A part, what can you do? And I'm kind of curious to hear that. And yeah, I think that's my presentation. I'm a little bit faster than I thought, but anyway. So thank you for hanging in there with me.
All right, lots of questions are coming.
So I just want to say really quickly, there's no coincidence that he's here tonight, especially seniors and the conversations we had this morning about your ideas. All of you are passionate about every idea you presented this morning, and I think we got some good feedback. But the juniors tomorrow morning is coming, and so let's get ready, because you all have some really good ideas, and I'm hoping that this is inspiring you, because I see a lot of the stuff you're doing in the things that he's showing us tonight. So hopefully be ready, be prepared, because he's going to have some good input for you and for us to be inspired as well. So
are you scaring them, or are you actually?
I'm trying to.
No, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely, it'll be fun. You know, we don't have a class about political design. That's amazing. I'm jealous you guys have a class like that. So I can't wait to kind of see what you guys been up to. So.
All right. Hey.
Yeah, okay.
So I know that you mentioned briefly about your work with calligraphy, and we did see some of your designs of the local poster. What would you say is, I guess, like, maybe not quite the ratio, but like, how much do you use calligraphy in your work versus just for fun? Because I find calligraphy a lot of fun, just for
Right.
time.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I do think calligraphy is almost something personal in my book, so I kind of keep that almost like a little bit closer to my soul kind of thing, if you want to say it like that. And I kind of doodle, and actually my wife likes it too, so sometimes we sit around and we talk about some things that do calligraphy on it. And also maybe just by bringing up in that world that you see all that beautiful calligraphy that I showed you early on, I'm almost intimidated on how kind of calligraphy masters make those things. And it's funny that I actually interviewed, I was trying to make a documentary on Iranian graphic design, so hopefully sometime before I pass away, I'll make it. It takes a long time to make those kind of things. But I was talking to a master calligrapher about, like, you know, what would you like to tell other people, kind of hint designers, you know? And he said, stop trying to make calligraphy perfect. Like, we have done it. Use it, do something more interesting, break it, make your own stuff, stop trying to do perfect calligraphy. And I was shocked. I was like, really? I thought he's going to say, you graphic designers don't know how to do this, like you're abusing the script or something like that. And his view was, don't keep trying to make it perfect. Kind of enjoy it, have fun with it, you know, make new things. So I hope I can do more of that, and maybe kind of have the bravery to have some of that show up in my work more often. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting skill, like where we were from, whatever script you had in mind. Yes?
Are there any, like, specific activists you're inspired by?
I'm really bad at names. I think kind of teaching for 15 years or so, I think my kind of memory kind of buffer zone in my mind is like full. But I can think of Mirko Ilic. I don't know, have you guys heard of Mirko? Okay, so you have a project called Tolerance, right? Tolerance Project. You guys, am I right? Yeah, the Tolerance Project. He's one of the people I admire a lot. And he's also very brave. I mean, he does things that he can easily get in trouble, but maybe because he's kind of real famous, he can afford getting in trouble a bit more than I can. And also teaching in kind of state institutions and academic institutions, we kind of have to watch out a little bit. You know, we can't get too close to kind of the dangerous realm. We want you guys to do that, but we don't want too many parents standing out the doors and saying, why are you making our kids do scary stuff and, you know, not worry about getting jobs, that kind of thing. Like, you want to, so yeah. But he's not in an academic institution. But the Mirko Ilic and yeah, the Tolerance Project. That's one of the people I can think of. And if I come up with other names, I'll let you know. But that came right away. So.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, and then I'll come to you. Yes.
How do you navigate like not being able to fully express yourself like, in your job, like the feelings? Does it ever like, get to you?
It does, but I know that the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, I know what that is, why I like teaching instead of kind of doing out there and having maybe no restrictions or something like that. And to me, to be able to inspire you guys and kind of have you kind of push the boundaries beyond what I would have ever done, I think it's worth paying that price. But yeah, it does kind of sometimes come into the blood pressures go up and some adrenaline hormones flow and you get upset, and then you realize, what am I doing? What am I not doing? Why am I doing that? And then it goes away. But yeah, I think it's there. So it's an interesting question. Thank you. Somebody think, yeah.
You express your identity throughout your work very beautifully, what did I say?
That's good.
But how do you do so, especially connecting with like important information to other people that might not necessarily know where you're from and know things about your culture? Like, how do you do that without falling into stereotypes?
I have to say I don't get that far in terms of in my mind to worry about that too much. I think as a creative, kind of all of you guys, you have a list of things you need to worry about and kind of your priorities. And I think the idea of falling in a stereotype from other people's point of view, I think is low on that territory. It's not invisible. You know, when you make design choices, you want to make sure, you know, the vernacular you use, especially the visuals you use, right, is not something that's kind of overused, abused out there, you know. What is that typeface that was used in that kind of that movie? Papyrus, right? Have you guys seen that motion piece on the papyrus font, right? Yeah, right. I love that one. So, like, you want to be aware that the choices you're making, as a trained graphic designer, you know, especially, to be aware of those things. But other than that, I don't kind of think about that too much, you know. And the work I make, some of it is for myself, some of it is for specific audiences. And again, like any other design piece, you kind of have to keep in mind a kind of specific target audience, and kind of that's the audience you want to care for. Who are they? How do they consume? What do they look at? What do they not look at? How can I communicate with them? And if other people like it or dislike it, that's kind of like, okay, you know. But your job, especially as a graphic designer, and I don't mean job like paid job, like your strength is to kind of focus on who do I want to communicate this to and kind of make that happen. Yeah. Yes.
So you kind of discussed the obvious differences between typography and Western and non-Western design, but I was kind of curious if there were any other methodology differences between kind of those two worlds that are good to know about or stand out.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my next talk when I come here next time. but I would just say this, that especially with typography, because kind of writing and kind of scripture in that kind of Arabic, kind of Persian-Arabic realm, it's really started as a result of Quran, and Quran is the holy book of Islam. So many writings that were done, many scripts that came around at that time was just to make the words of Quran beautiful, to the point that many people who cannot read at the time, I think 80% of the people could not read. So they would just, it should be so beautiful that when somebody sees this writing, they will know this is the word of God, therefore I want to know more about it, I want to go to the talk, I want to go to the prayers, that kind of thing. So the beautiful presence of type was very, very important. Now that kind of beauty did not lend itself that well when things have to be fit in pixels, right? When Adobe and Microsoft and they were thinking about their softwares, they were like, oh, like that's got too many curves, and over there the dots go above and this other character goes below the other one. Oh my God, that's like too much trouble for us. So let's not worry about that. So when the first 10 years of was known as kind of the desktop revolution, when you have kind of Macintosh and Adobe and all these come out, the attention to Arabic scripts and their needs was completely ignored. Just too much work, not enough profits to be made, which kind of held back, like 1/3 of the world to participate in that kind of arena. And so what we did back there when I went to visit Iran, people would scan things, they would do calligraphy, they would scan it, they would take it to Illustrator and Photoshop, do vectors on the scan, that would be their type, as opposed to just type. So a little bit extra work. So yeah, I mean that's kind of some difference in the background and kind of how the technology realm has approached those, specifically the type. But now, because of OpenType and many other technologies that's come around, and also third-party plugins and things like that, I can say we're almost there, like almost equal to what can be done in Latin type with Arabic typography. And now what's left is for the designers and typographers to be educated in those to fully realize the fruits of that. And that hopefully should happen in the next decade or so. On the East Coast, how about you guys? Or West Coast, sorry. How about you guys over there?
Somewhere in the Central Coast. Somewhere here.
Oh, in the middle? Yes, yes.
I was say that we're talking a lot about like doing design in heavy topics and stuff. And I know that sometimes, like especially when you're passionate about something, it can get like really emotional. Do you like feel like when you're making stuff, it's kind of an emotional release when you're like,
So say that one more time.
When you're like making designs about like these heavy topics and stuff, do you feel that it's kind of an emotional release from, especially when you're like close to the issue?
Right. I've never felt an emotional release per se, I do get emotional about it for sure. It's more like empowering, like to be empowered that use my skills to say something about this subject that I'm passionate about, and kind of almost like fulfilling. I'm kind of like a little high. It's like 3 a.m. and I'm still doing this, and my wife unfortunately has gotten used to that kind of thing. But yeah, and then when I'm done, my back is hurting and my shoulders numb, but I'm like, okay, now I can upload it. It's great. So it's like that kind of thing. Like designer high or something. Must be something. So I'm going to ask you guys a question. Anybody wants to answer mine on what can you do? Did any thoughts come across anybody, like what do you want to jump in and do? Yeah?
There are a lot of activism groups that need designers both locally and internationally, and by going to the people and like, hey, I can do stuff for you, you can make a big difference in causes.
Can you think of one?
Two.
I mean, just curious.
That's another one.
SDS, what does that stand for?
Students for Democratic Society.
Okay, great. There you go. Anybody else? Any things that came to your minds? Yeah.
I guess like not only being creative with our artwork, but like thinking like conceptually like further, like how to be creative with our distribution. It's like we all have social media, it can get tiring, it can be hard. I think that like getting creative with how we engage people in our work, not just the work itself, is really helpful for activism, especially.
Yeah, user creativity in all manners, the media, the language, the look, the voice, the technology. Yeah. And notice that you can't have fun while you're being an activist, right? There's no way that you can't do that. Actually, I think it's a little bit of fun that then you do more of it. And yeah. Yes.
starting small, because like I actually have a situation, the sociology department here, they don't have any supplies, and they organize a lot of protests and stuff like that, and they don't have any supplies, all they have is paper and pencils. And so when they're trying to make posters or even like picket signs and stuff like that, they don't really have anything, so they have to use cardboard. So, I'll start with that, designers.
So I would say bug them more, bug the instructors, and maybe even go above instructors and have the voice heard, we need material. And we'll do good stuff if you give it to us, but find sponsors, find ways to do that, and of course, empower yourself. You guys can have little fundraising events, right? Kind of maybe ask your amazing instructors to make posters, or they can give artwork that they've already made. I know Matt, you guys amazing posters. And you can kind of have a little sale and sell those and make some money and then use them for your own kind of works. Do you guys have a graphic design club here somewhere? Yes? Is it graphic design club or AOJ club or something, right?
We're trying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if a couple of you guys get together, put your heads together, I'm sure you can find amazing ways to get resources and make and fundraising and things like that. But I'll also explore what the university can do for you. I think if you keep knocking on the doors, they'll answer.
I mean, here's one thing we're going to be discussing in the future, probably next Wednesday. Voting. I'm really surprised that those of you that I've talked to are still not registered to vote. We're going to help you through that. You all need to exercise your right. You all have really passionate, strong ideas about what you want our world to be like, and you're in prime position to help shape that. So we're going to work together to make sure you all are doing what you can do to vote.
And that you have the resources.
Yeah.
To get there.
And you think it doesn't make a difference, but it does. There's 100 majors, there's 100 people in here that actually could vote. You know, so you think just because it's the President of the United States and it doesn't matter, your voice isn't heard, it does matter. And you've seen that over the course of your lifetime, the last 10 years specifically, of how things have shifted in the wind and what could happen. So it does matter, it does matter.
And what did they say? If you don't make a choice, you're still making a choice?
Yeah.
Because the other side's making choices, like all day long with a lot of money behind them. Whatever the other side is. Yeah. We're at a time and place like these things make a lot of difference. Yeah, not a little bit of difference. Like, just next time I'll vote. No, more like this time. Yeah, next time might be too late. And the thing with voting is, I mean, obviously, like, really just one, like, what's the one thing to do? That's not really one. When you do, your friends will hear about that. They're like, oh, you did that? Like, let's go together, kind of thing. Or can you show me how to do that? And like, well, he did it. Like, what should I do it? Next thing you know, it's like a whole bunch of people are doing it without actually telling you necessarily, because they know that you did it. And on the other side of things, it actually, by you doing that in a weird way, I think it empowers you. Like, you're like, okay, now I'm participating in what's being said. And now I have to support that. Now I'm going to go and demonstrate. I'm going to make things to make my vote come to fruition, even if I did not win or something. But now I have something to say. And I kind of planted that seed there for voting, and I'm going to go and do more of it. And kind of it's a sense of empowerment to participate in our society. Because you guys live in a society, like, you do not need a commune somewhere in the mountains. I mean, some of you may end up there, I know. But even there, you have something to say in that commune, you know. So your commune right now is your town, is your city, and your country is a bigger city. So, like, yeah, say something about it, do something about it. Yeah. I mean, people from around the world, they think America is the place that you are free to vote. And they kind of wish they can come here, and as you know, people give their lives just to kind of have a chance for the children to come here, and they all end up kind of unfortunately sinking in a boat that's on the way here. So they're like, people really believe like when they get here, this is the place to kind of live free and have their voices heard. You guys are here, like you're the selected few, the gifted few. So appreciate it, value it, and just have fun with it also, you know. That doesn't have to be too serious, just kind of get out there and do your thing.
But I do think that the people in office right now, and I'm talking about in Senate, I'm talking about everywhere, they're very old people for the most part. They don't want you to vote. So you're doing exactly what they want. They want to
Very
be in
happy,
charge.
yes.
They're 70 plus, they don't want you to vote, they want to be in charge, so it's like, you're doing exactly what they want. So if you don't vote, right, so they're okay with it. So the idea is that we want to change that. We want young people.
Yeah, have you noticed voting day is not a holiday?
Yeah.
In many parts of the world it is. Some of it is in fact paid holiday, because they want the voice to be heard. Here, no. Oh, we're gonna have this kind of holiday, that other thing, holiday, but not for voting. Isn't that weird? Yeah. Yeah, the old people out there, they don't want you to hear your voices. Thank you very much. You know, like, we'll decide for you. Thanks. You just go and kind of spend some money and buy. And keep the economy going, please. You know?
Any more questions?
We're good?
Thank you.
Okay.